So I've been reading Across That Bridge, A Vision for Change and Future of America by John Lewis. If you have not seen this, not heard of it, I'm going to highly, highly recommend checking it out. I'm actually reading it as part of another group that I'm involved in, but the applicability to the work that we do as magic makers in this world. And let me be really clear when I talk about magic and magic makers. There is an element of talking about magic in this world that is like, oh, fancy, special, unique, amazing. That's magic. And while that is one aspect of magic, I just want to be clear that when I talk about magic, I talk about a deep, otherworldly power that is accessible to many of us on this planet. I'm talking about bringing back dragons and unicorns and fae. I'm talking about fire coming from our hands. I'm talking about this just like, oh, a call from inside me to tap into things that are encoded in my DNA, long lost, but now trying to find voice and breath of their own in this space and time. And if you can go there with me, great. And if you can't, know that that's okay too. But I just want to be clear when I talk about magic that I'm talking about that real, living, dynamic magic that we would associate with the fairy tales, with fae and fairy tales. I don't believe it's a fairy tale. So how does that connect in to Across That Bridge? Well, there is something that John Lewis shared in here that I have not been able to let go of. It's actually been churning inside my mind. I've wanted to talk to you about it for a while now. And I finally was just like, let's just do it. Let's go. I'm going to make it imperfect and I might get some things wrong, but that has to be okay. We cannot allow that fear of imperfection to stop us from making progress in the directions that we want to go. So something that Lewis says here in the book on page 20, faith to me, because he's talking about faith, is knowing in the solid core of your soul that the work is already done, even as an idea is being conceived in your mind. It is being as sure as you are about your dreams as you are about anything you know is hard fact. For example, are you sure you know? You are sure, not are you sure? You are sure you know how to drive to your home from your job. No one could make you doubt that you know the way. You are sure that clouds drift in a light blue sky. You know the date you were born. Faith is being so sure of what the Spirit has whispered in your heart that your belief in its eventuality is unshakable. Nothing can make you doubt that what you have heard will become a reality. Let me say that again. Nothing can make you doubt that what you have heard will become a reality, even if you do not live to see it come to pass. You know without one doubt that it will be. That is faith. That really hits me hard. I grew up in a home of faith. And that's what's interesting to me is I grew up in a home of faith, speaking of Christ, speaking of second coming, speaking of all these great grandiose plans. And it never for a moment dawned on me to doubt any of that. It was just, I was all in from the beginning. Whatever it is, I'm in, it's coming. I was unshakable in that belief until much later in life. Some shenanigans that pursued in my life. Some of you may know, some of you may not. Or maybe let me change that because I want to make sure I'm talking to the one. I'm not talking to a room. I'm talking to the one. And that is, you may or may not know the things that transpired in my life, but let's just, for this space right here, let me just say that trauma happened and it shook some things in my life and it reorganized some things in my life. I don't see it as losing my faith, but transitioning my faith. And one of those things that came to me in that transition was this vision of a world where people could be safe to practice the powers that are sitting inside of them, whether they gain that power from a traditional Christian following or whether that power comes from what we treat as other magic, witchery, fae, whatever, wherever that comes, that people can practice that power in safety, in security, in love, in compassion, in strength, believing in themselves and having so much faith in self and what they're trying to accomplish, that they cannot be shaken. What really hit me by what Lewis had to say here, what was really powerful for me, was that idea of knowing in your soul that the work is already done, that it's already done, even if the idea is being conceived in your mind in this moment. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. That's what I wanted to bring to you today and kind of riff with you a little bit about, was this idea that the things that we have inside of us, these visions that come to us, and I want to call them visions. I've called them dreams for a really long time, but dreams to me, they feel more like those things that we desire and wish for, but we wake up from. I don't think we have dreams as I talk to more and more and more magic makers. I feel like we have visions. We have desires for the future. We are being shown glimpses of things that have already been brought to pass. What Lewis is talking about in his book was the fight for civil rights and the continuing fight against white supremacy and racism in our systems. And he talked about it in a way that said the work that we were doing, the reason why we could stay so committed to the work when atrocities were happening to us and around us, was because in our minds, fixed and clear, was this idea that there was already this freedom and this equality and this equity. It already existed. And it existed in some future space and time, but it was already there. So they weren't fighting to make it happen. They were taking the steps that would lead to this eventuality. Do you see what I'm saying here? Is we move it from being something that might happen to something that will happen. It will only take a matter of time. And I love that he calls out there too in that same passage, whether that's in our lifetime or another. So I want to be open. I want to be open about what I see when I look out there in the future, that I see the return of Fae, and I see the return of dragons, and I see the return of unicorns, and I see the possibilities for us to exist in a world filled with magic as it once was. We now call it fairy tales or folklore, but I believe that there is truth woven within those stories and those words. And I believe in the possibility of those things and the inevitability of those things to come. What Lewis is reminding me here from his Across That Bridge is that my job is to hold faith in that vision, in that inevitability. And I know if you're showing up here with me, it's because you have some vision that's being shown to you. And all of us have some part of the grander vision. And as we come together, we create an alchemy that is greater than the sum of its parts, because your movement towards your vision and my movement towards my vision and someone else's movement towards their vision comes together to create a greater whole. What I know is that I'm here to help people to first choose into radical self-love for what they already have beating and living inside of them, to pull away the layers of cultural grime that are telling you that something is wrong with you or that something is wrong with me, when that couldn't be farther from the truth, or could be. Whatever the correct grammar is there, what I'm saying is that it's false and it's a lie, but culture, wrapped in fear and lies and doubt and even good intentions. But that culture has created a space in which we forget that that vision that we are being shown is more than a dream. It's more than a mirage. It's real and it's true and it already exists out there in the future. And our job is to continue to choose into it and to take the steps towards it, having the faith that whether it is in this lifetime or after I pass, that it will come to fruition. And I see that vision. And I see the people that will help me, the generals. That's what I call them, generals of magic. Whether or not that's the right word, it doesn't matter. I see these gates being opened, but I see people who need to help open the gates. I can't open them all on myself. I'm not designed to. None of us are. None of us are designed to take on anything of the future on our own. As visionaries, we are grasping or receiving. I used to call them like glittery scraps of Post-it notes floating from the sky, and this one would shimmer over here and that one would shimmer over there. And what I've learned over time is that no one person is responsible for grabbing all of the shimmering Post-it notes. That's why togetherness matters and community matters, and gathering together into community, the magic makers and the people of Fae, the unicorns and the dragons and the mermaids and the selkies and whatever mystical creature that you might be connected to or feel connected to, gathering them together to create safety and spaces that we might continue to grow in our magic, both that of this space and time, which I call the word, and that of a space and time outside of us that I call the in-between, both with their unique properties and both with unique powers that they're willing to grant unto us. I know that might feel like a lot to take in, but I also know that you have a vision that connects in some way, shape, or form to the vision that I see when I look out into the future, whether it's to help people on the path to these great shining cities of magic, or whether it's to be a teacher among the great shining cities of magic, or whatever your version or vision may be. You have one. And what I'm inviting you to do today is to choose into it, to believe in it with the same power and faith that you may have given anything else that's come before you. I don't think magic requires us to let go of anything we don't want to let go of except fear. Faith requires us to let go of doubt. Magic requires us to let go of fear. That is it. But I believe that magic is an adding to, not a taking from. And whatever your vision is that connects into that greater idea of magic moving through our planet once more, believe in it. Treat it as though it is already a reality, because it is. And we can get into the energy side of that and the, layers and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole other component that can go along with this, but I just want you to know that it is. Just as your power of creation, the space set aside for you to create in this time is already yours. It's something that I see. It's something that I interact with when you step into my world. Okay? Like, that is already yours. The vision that you've been given, it has already come to pass. You and I, we just need to believe, and we need to take the steps forward in faith. So I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that when you look at your vision, you can give it the same strength and power that you were willing to give so many other things in your life, or have given those other things in your life. It's amazing to me how much power we're willing to give to other people's opinions, to their words, to their rules, to their requirements. And yet we struggle to give that same power, strength, and truthness to the things that we see. But I want to stand as a voice. I want to stand as a voice that says, I see it with you, and I believe in it with you. And as you and I stand together in faith in our visions, these visions that are complementary to one another, great and incredible things will come to pass. We just have to hold as though it is already the reality now. So let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear kind of what you're thinking. What are you mulling over? What is this sparked inside of you? And just remember, I love you, and we got this.